ultimately you begin to understand that all the success is the result of a simple formula. Someone had vision, they added someone or someone's capabilities, and then they multiplied it with someone else's reach. Steve Jobs said this a long time ago, that all creativity is from combining two existing things, collaboration. So in my world, I do nothing but collaborations, which is helping entrepreneurs around the world understand their collaboration currency and how they can utilize it to combine it with someone else's collaboration currency. And when it creates an outcome, everybody gets to split the outcome.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Kitchen. Today I've got a very special guest for you. I've got Chad Jenkins. Chad is a Vision Alchemist, 2 times best-selling author, founder of CoLAB, Global Entrepreneur Collaboration, and the founder and CEO of SEEDSPARK. I'm so excited to have you here, Chad. Thank you for joining me. You've done a lot of things. How did you know the entrepreneurial bug had hit?
First and foremost, thank you very much for having me. I've actually posed this question and researched the answer to this question with entrepreneurs all over the world. And my answer, which seems to be pretty consistent, we understand around the age of 7 to 9 how we're uniquely designed to create value in the world. Sadly, the normal education system begins to train us in about the 3rd grade to have convergent thinking versus divergent thinking. And you'll notice a lot of entrepreneurs have an abundance of divergent thinking. So for the ones that are, I would say, almost stamped DNA to be an entrepreneur, it seems that it happened somewhere between 7 and 9. For me, it was actually exactly 8 years old. I remember the day that it happened to me and where I was. Then I began to look at the world completely different than what I understand now as the convention. To me, everything is just a resource. And I'm running a constant question that I began to ask at that time. How can I take what I see and combine it with what I know and create value for someone else? I call it your constant question since I was 8 years old.
Some of those things we don't think about. Sometimes we get trained out of our way, but somehow you never quite are satisfied. You find yourself somehow longing for something else, and you should be grateful for where you are, but you know this is not it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I know that you started in a very interesting way. You were into equestrian and
Yes.
landscaping. I'm wondering, did you have a farming background?
We'll just take that same time frame around 8. I grew up on a farm way out in South Carolina in the United States, and it was way in the country. So I spent a lot of time putting up fencing and mowing very large pastures. We had horses and cows, so we'll call it a farm. It was more like a ranch, but it had farm qualities. And very early on, it's interesting that you say you get trained out, or you always have, in my world, the word would be friction, that you know that there's something more. And I didn't know that there was something more. I felt as if I should have been born in the middle of Manhattan, because there I perceive things move very fast. And where I grew up, they don't move very fast. They move very slow. Oftentimes I'll joke that time moves backwards in those little small towns. And so I remembered thinking, how in the heck am I ever going to get out of here? I got to figure out how to make this stuff they call money. Again, I was 8 years old, right? You don't know very much, but you're fully conscious. So you come out of theta state at 7 years old. So you're beginning to ask some pretty interesting questions. And I began to do that. So looking at things just as what they authentically are, not really what someone labels them. But if I can understand what it could be used for, and then I can combine it with something else that has an intent to use it this way, but you could really use it this way and combine them, it is endless value creation. So that journey started around that time. I'll give you an example. I went from thinking I have nothing to saying, oh, wait, I've been riding horses since before I was 8 years old. I go to horse sales with my father 2 or 3 times a week. And I noticed if a kid is riding a horse through a horse sale, all the adults that are in the stands thinking about bidding on this horse think they can ride it too. If a kid can ride it, can't you? Not 100% true, to be really honest with you. You need to know what you're doing. And so at the time, people would pay me $10 or $20 to ride their horse through the sale barn. And again, I was doing it 3 times a week. So I could go from sale barn to sale barn and ride 5 to 10 horses I'm making $100 to $200 a night, 600 a week. It didn't take long to make enough money that I could buy my first piece of real estate.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Sometimes people think, oh, I have nothing. But you
Mm-mm.
realize even at that age, I know something that a lot of people don't know, and understanding that thing that would be of value to somebody else. Wow, that's amazing. You describe yourself as a vision alchemist. What does that mean?
So Vision Alchemist to me, I've mentioned a couple of the key components earlier. It's a person that looks at things as they truly and authentically are, but from a place where you can combine them with other things to create new and unique value. So in my world, I do nothing but collaborations, which is helping entrepreneurs around the world understand their collaboration currency and how they can utilize it to combine it with someone else's collaboration currency. And when it creates an outcome, everybody gets to split the outcome. So
Mm,
as you can see, there's similarities all the way back from when I was 8. I go to horse sales. I have this capability that I can ride horses. The horse sales are my reach. And all I needed was the vision. How do you connect them? So a vision alchemist would be someone who's definitely an upper level visionary. The word visionary, of course, is utilized in a big way. And it's widely different to somebody who has a plethora of ideas to someone who sees true vision. So I quantify vision in 4 different categories, and we'll make it to something that we all probably experienced still. I may be a little older, and I remember there used to be black and white TVs. So to me, that's like having an idea. You have an idea of how something could be better, no clue how to make it real or make it recur. But then some of your ideas, you can even tell me what it looks like and feels like. And those, I would say that you have vision around those ideas that are at a color level. Furthermore, some visionaries have ideas and they have enough vision around this particular idea, this vision that they have, that they know what it looks like and smells like. They can really tell you and you can almost see it. They also know where they are in the journey to making this become real. And they have the ability to say, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do this to potentially create this outcome. That's an HD visionary. And then lastly, 3D. So a vision alchemist has the ability to take existing, whatever is there, see how to recombine it, how much it's going to take of each part to create this vision, who also is required to make this become real. And then once it's real, how do you make it recur? That's an
mm,
upper echelon level of vision. And so oftentimes folks being entrepreneurs in general, are trying to make a better mousetrap. The vision alchemist sees everything in the ability of what it could be utilized to create something that no one's ever seen before and how you get there. So it's just a little higher level. So I spend my days doing is totally fun for me because any entrepreneur that's referred to me, the first thing they're going to tell you is what title they have, or they're going to identify themselves by what company they currently run. When I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, once we begin to really ask some good questions, they have so many more resources that they're not putting to work, both in their vision, their capabilities, and also their reach. So we talked about vision a good bit. Capabilities are awesome because you may have a capability, or you may have an ability, or you may also have additional capacity in something that you're able to do. Let's say you're manufacturing, you have machines, but the machines only run one shift. So you have all this additional capacity that you could put to work because they're costing you basically the same. So that's a little definition or some insight into capabilities. By the same token, from a capability standpoint, you may own a piano. That is a capability. It is capable of making very nice music. But if you're like me, you might have the ability, which is wildly different than the capability. I can only at best plink out Twinkle Little Star. So you can see how the different varies. I have a piano. You don't want me playing a piano. That's a horrible idea. It's a great cosmetic
mm,
enhancement to an environment, but you don't want me playing it. And then some people have an immense ability, but they have limited capability. So when you begin to look at the world in that particular way, ooh, the world is limitless. The last piece is reach. So when I talk about reach, it's about your trust relationships. We all have them, every human. You have a certain amount of people, associations, groups. Maybe you serve on a board. Maybe you have 10,000 clients. That's all the reach asset of yours that you're probably not putting to work at the highest level of efficiency that it could, which is at the foundation of an entrepreneur's definition. I think it was in 1676, John Baptiste Say defined an entrepreneur. It's someone who takes existing resources that produce at a certain level and increases their performance. As an entrepreneur, it is very simple. I use the acronym VCR. Of course, at my age, I remember there used to be VCRs. You'd plug this thing in and it played movies. It was awesome when I was definitely a kid. That's not what I'm talking about. But now, of course, it anchors for all the people who had a VCR when they were a kid. Ultimately, you begin to understand that all the success is the result of a simple formula. Someone had vision. They added someone or someone's capabilities, and then they multiplied it with someone else's reach. Where it comes from. If you track backward, and I could give you countless examples, and it's the awareness that even right now, like this camera that's making it where you and I can see each other, the internet that is connecting me in the US to you, or this computer that's obviously helping us, or everything else that anyone listening to this sees at the moment, everything started as an idea in someone's imagination. And that particular person did not make it real, and they did not make it recur. It was always leveraging the art of collaboration to make that idea become something real. That's very empowering to an 8-year-old kid who thought that he had nothing, right? I was at a farm and I'd hear about this nice and wonderful things that if you have money, you can have. I got to go get some money. How do I get money? Oh, you got to create value. I have no way to create value. I'm a kid. Completely false. When you begin to look at the world as the entire world is my resource. And Steve Jobs said this a long time ago, that all creativity is from combining two existing things, collaboration. In all the businesses that I've started and any amount of value I've ever created, it was all a result of combining two things that already existed. It could have been awareness of something that is a friction in an industry and 2 or 3 other people that had the capabilities. What they didn't have is the vision. They had the capability. They could have solved the problem. They didn't have the vision. And what did I do to help create this outcome or create this value? Combined the issue with people who had capabilities. And now if we made it a business, how do you make it recur? We have somebody else that has the credit card number on file for every person we ever want to buy this service. We can spend the time to go get them to like us. First, they have to know us. That's expensive. Then once they know us, we can get them to like us. And then hopefully, eventually they trust us and they buy it. Or maybe I can just collaborate with Miss Priscilla because she's got everyone's credit card number on file for the people who would buy this service. And then we can go from 0 to 10 million in a matter of months. It's a way different and unconventional way to think about growth and leveraging the art of collaboration that way.
Hey, small business family, quick pause here. If you've been listening and thinking, I need help getting clear on my message and how to actually market this amazing thing I've created, I've made something just for you. It's called the Clarity Intensive, and it's 2 focused sessions, one-on-one, where we untangle your ideas, map out your next best move, and build a foundation for real business momentum. If you're done thinking what's the right thing to do, and you're ready for a customized strategy that fits you, this is for you. You'll find the link in the show notes, or you can visit the website www.reinventingperspectives.com/shop, and you'll see our Clarity Intensive 1-to-1 marketing coaching. Let's get back to the show. I knew that this is a conversation that needed to happen when I was reading about you, about strategic partnerships and exponential thinking. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we struggle a lot. We fail a lot because we try to do everything on our own.
That's right. Yeah. Clear example, right?
We think to ourselves, oh, I can't collaborate, or what do I have, or I haven't yet proven anything. And so how do I approach people? So let me build value in myself, which, as you said, that's not how value creation, based on what you've said, is made. And you're thinking isolated value creation when you could collaborate. Why do we think that way? Why do we
Mm.
continually have this approach to entrepreneurship as a common way?
Best I can tell, because it's a question I've asked over and over, not for a long time, because I thought everyone saw the world the same way that I did, even though I definitely was a little bit of an outsider growing up. The best research that I've been able to do is all pointed back to around the third grade. They start wanting us to think convergently. And that says, Miss Priscilla needs to make the same grade on the math test, 100, that I do. They don't really focus on, although our parents tell us that we're made unique and we can do anything that we want to do. They just left out the part that told me how. But if you get to the third grade and they start giving us testing and we're tested against each other, what if they would consider you're excellent at math? I got the science thing knocked out. And our friend across the way, English, crushes it. If they would put us together in our favorite word, collaboration, my math's going to get better because you're going to show me, and you talk to me on my level, by the way, right? We're all the same age. It's not a teacher, learned it a particular way, been teaching for 25 years, and a lot of kids get it. But now Priscilla, someone that I trust, I'm in collaboration with, is showing me how she does math. And of course, what am I doing? I'm showing how I do the science thing. And Joey, he's training us on English. And now we're in collaboration. So everybody benefits. Everybody goes higher level of acumen than they had, but I'm able to contribute. And I feel very confident, by the way, I'm able to contribute my science skills to this collaboration. And every day that I show up, I only need to show up as myself. I don't need to strive to make this a better grade on math because I flunked the last one. Oh, and by the way, I can't talk to you. You've got it figured out, but I need to figure it out myself. Now, I love the strive in that. And that would be something that someone says, oh, no, you need to struggle. I'm happy to struggle with using what I've been given to heighten the ability of creating outcomes that I can. I want to learn from you in this hypothetical example. Math is your deal. I just want to show up and give you everything I know about science. And of course, because you would welcome my help, I would assume, we create an incredible relationship that probably lasts us a very long time versus, of course, the way that we all went through grade school. So I feel like best I can tell, it starts around the third grade and we're trained competitive growth strategies, not so much with intentionality by the teachers that are teaching it, but much, much more fundamental than that. It's more man leveraging the ability to manage man. I feel like personally, for anyone who's listening, have you ever had an idea of how something could be better? And of course, I know the answer. It's yes. So to me, if the definition for an entrepreneur is to take resources at a certain level and increase their performance, and that's the definition of an entrepreneur, we're all entrepreneurs. So it actually has to get trained out of us. We don't need to evolve to it. We just need to return to it.
That growing to be competitive and feeling like you must achieve things on your own, and that comparison and competition and all those things that suddenly are suggested to you and you take them on as true, it makes a lot of sense.
Measure up to, not contribute what I've been given. And I'm sure some listeners are very personality profile centric. I happen to be as well. With strength finders, which I assume in Australia, do you use strength finders there a good bit as well? Like Clifton Strengths, I think is what it's originally called. So on strength finders, competition, my second one out of 34 strengths, ranked in order. Achiever, competition, futuristic, focused, analytical, and strategic are the top 6. So competition, though, if you really research it, it's not with you, it's competition with myself. I have to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. So there's a way to leverage competition in that respect, the way that it truly is the meaning, not me against you, which seems to be more of what we're trained along the way.
So much you said already. I mean, you've talked about the levels of vision, which I think is important. I wonder, how do you develop those levels of vision? Because a lot of times we're stuck at black and white, where the people with many ideas, and we never think there's a next level to that. We're stuck in that phase of being the lots of ideas person.
2 immediate thoughts. And I'll give you a little background of this is just the way that I see the world currently. And I think where we are and where we're headed. And then I'll complement the answer to the question. I believe we have moved into what I classify as the idea economy. The task economy is quickly dying. for years and years, we perceive value as being created when the task is being completed. We pay people for that. They continue to use their back to create the outcome or to create that task completion. In the next 3 to 5 years, I noticed just the other day, I was reading, and I think it's either Japan or China has just released a $5,900, actually it's 5,900 euro robot. Just pretty approachable. So before too long, when robots cut my grass, clean my pool, cook my dinner, what's going to be left for those trades that are doing that today? It's your imagination. And the question was, can you, I believe, evolve to a level where you can have that level of vision? I think it's a wonderful return as well, because whenever you move into the idea economy, when value is not created from completing a task, as it has been for years and years on every continent, what's going to be left? Your ideas. We're moving into the idea economy wonderfully. We all came factory installed with what we need to strive in the new idea economy. But how do you access it? You have to be quiet. Sometimes you have to close your eyes and you have to access your imagination. Taking us back as well to that same formidable age, 7 to 9, when maybe you were dealing with Barbie dolls and they were coming to life and having a conversation. Maybe they were drinking tea. There might even been an imaginary person across from you that you could have told me exactly what she was wearing at the little small tea table. Or for me, those army men, they did charge down that hill. There were some of them driving those tanks. And if you were to ask a kid at that level, before they've been, again, trained to have convergent thinking, they could paint a picture for you that you and I could see it conceptually, of course, but it would have all the vivid detail. Where's that coming from? Imagination. So making sure that we have time to think, some space out of our normal day. I have a very crazy routine. I go to bed pretty early, typically 8:58, and I wake up around 3 to 3:15 naturally. At that time, I'm very quiet. I do not open my eyes. That took a while because normally when you become conscious, the first thing you do is open your eyes. I do not. The very first thing I do is be thankful, and I just say thank you until I run out of things to say thank you for. Nobody wants me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. After that, I meditate. So it's very quiet. It's very dark. There's nothing but me and my thoughts. And that's whenever I begin to, I would argue, receive things from my imagination. One would argue even the divine is part of your imagination. That's where it comes from. But I begin to receive ideas that I would never receive during the course of a day. Because even though I don't do manual stuff, I'm still involved in some level of task. I'm having meetings to leverage thinking to create outcomes. So I don't have a whole lot of time to just be in my head, which is where all the ideas come from. I'd like to ask a question of anybody in the audience. Can you create me an idea right now? The answer is no. You receive ideas. Where do they come from? Your imagination. So helping someone understand and being empowered that they have what they need to succeed, it was factory installed, that each and every person has vision, they have capabilities, and they also have reach. And if they would consider showing up as what is classified as a go-giver, how can I give what I've been given and contribute to Priscilla around some vision or objective that she has? And if there's any outcome, the only question I have for Priscilla is how we're going to split that outcome. Now, for those of us who are entrepreneurs, who feel like they are absolutely visionaries, because they are at some level, and they have these ideas, whether they be black and white, color, HD, or 3D, the opportunity to share that vision with someone else and then split the outcome, I would argue is what our real responsibility is here on earth. We've all been given these unique capabilities. And if we would show up and try to give them to someone, what if 8.2 billion people woke up tomorrow morning thinking that same way? Would I have a lot of concern about what I have that I'm giving to Priscilla when there's 8 other billion people on the planet that are trying to give what they've been given to me to help me with my objectives? Where would we be now?
That's so good. Thank you for breaking that down, because I figured people would be thinking about that. Like, how do I grow vision? And I like that you said, be still. So that
You got to be still.
You got to be still, and you got to create that space so that you can receive those ideas. And it's so true. Now, tell us about SEEDSPARK. I know it's a global entrepreneur growth collaboration. What is that about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. So you asked about the journey earlier. So I've created over 50 organizations along the way, some small companies that grew big, some bought big companies and made them bigger. And it was the only way that I knew, it was very much the convention, that if I had an idea and it would create value, I would go turn it into a company. I got pretty decent at doing that. Over the last few years, I'd say last 3 years, I began to ask questions, and I think this is very common in that early to mid 40s. No matter what level of success you reach, you begin to ask questions that sound something similar to, is this it? You begin to look around. Like you've got material things, which actually mean nothing. You've got relationships, which mean everything. And you've got your agency. So the awareness that you have vision, you have capabilities, and you have reach. But you begin to ask, is this all that there is? And as well, one of the books that I had written is Friction Fuel. I'm naturally drawn to be aware of friction that most people are not complaining about. In that book, I talk about 3 types of friction that you can use to create competitive advantages and value like no one else in your industry. I'm fortunate and have a lot of experience doing it because I've never had any time when you start as early as I did. You don't have time to work in an industry for 10 years, figure out a better mousetrap, and then go strike it out on your own. I started out on my own. But when I began to ask those questions and I was faced with another friction, no matter how many companies I owned, when I would go away and have some really good time to think, to receive those ideas that we just talked about, when I returned back, and normally I would go away for a quarter, I would be gone 2 days. With travel, I was going a total of 3. And when I returned, I would meet my leadership teams in different companies. And it says a great idea. Where would you like for us to work it in? Our plate is already full. So I was very fortunate. I joined Strategic Coach. And I'm not sure if you've heard that. I've got a couple of friends that are in Australia as well that join Strategic Coach. They come over once a quarter. So I joined Strategic Coach per request. And whenever I was there, I recognized something. I was surrounded by entrepreneurs who had scaled capabilities. A lot that we've spoken about today is vision, capability, and reach. So I recognized those ideas or visions that I would return back to all of my companies, and they were already busy. They loved my ideas, but it would take 3 to 6 months to begin to start working on them. Very frustrating for me because why? I'm going to have a lot more ideas in 3 to 6 months. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And so I took that friction and I remember writing down, can I create an organization that identifies, structures, and optimizes collaborations for entrepreneurs all over the world and do it as a collaboration? And could it go global? Turns out the answer is yes. That's been about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And under SEEDSPARK, which is an organization that I started back in 2005, a few years before the iPhone came out. And SEEDSPARK has always stood for Seed Vision, Spark Growth. So it seemed very logical to place my next endeavor, which is the CoLAB, rightfully named. Nothing happens as an individual. It's all a collaboration. We talked about that earlier. Visions are nothing without collaboration with somebody's capability and ultimately someone's reach. So I've spun up the CoLAB, SEEDSPARK CoLAB, to do just exactly that, to help entrepreneurs really embrace and leverage the art of collaboration by understanding and being able to look at the world from a vision, capability, and reach set of glasses. Because whenever you begin to do that, no matter if you may be very fortunate to have a trust fund, you may perceive yourself as being less fortunate and you have no money. But one thing you do have is your imagination. You've got your own individual vision. You have your capabilities. And I expect that you're a nice person. And there are a multitude of people that trust you. They can't be taken away. You can combine those with other people's vision, capability, and reach and start creating value where you are. So that's what I did. I've committed to no more companies at all. I will only combine my vision to grow other entrepreneurs' organizations around the world, sharing with them some of the things that we've talked about today and helping them leverage the art of collaboration to reach well beyond their current dreams and imagination. And that's where the SEEDSPARK CoLAB came from.
Oh, that's amazing. Gosh, we're actually out of time. I don't know if you have a little bit more time.
Sure. I'm all yours. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to do this. Put you on
It's
the
okay.
spot. I know that you've got a SEEDSPARK growth flywheel with 3 frameworks. I
Mhm.
was really intrigued by them. I said, I got to get you to talk about this in our little short time. But removing the film, just an overview, just add 0 and 100x collaborations.
Absolutely. So we'll take that remove the film first because it's very reachable. Remove the film. I assume everyone who's listening has received a new phone, maybe a new car. You may have even bought a new TV. And that TV looks pretty nice when you turn it on after you get it home. But when you recognize there's a little film over top of it, and when you pull it off, like that new phone, you're like, whoa, the screen got a lot better. That's the way I see the entire world. There are these little things that I classify as friction. And in the book that I mentioned earlier, I classify friction in 3 categories. The first type of friction everyone has, and they're going to be very aware of it. It's called regular friction. Just as if you were to drive up to a gas station or a petro station, you have 3 different types of gas or petro. The first type is regular, at least here in the States. The middle type is plus, and the best type, premium. Frictions are the same way. A regular friction, you have to react to today. You're out of money. Your salesperson just left. They just put in the resignation. Top sales guy, by the way. Of course, it's the top sales guy. You didn't get the loan. So sorry. Those types of friction, or you're standing on the train track and the train is coming. You will move or you get ran over. That is a regular friction, all of those. The next type of friction is plus friction. Plus friction is typically delivered to you by your best clients, and sometimes you would call them complaints. But as it turns out, if you look backwards, when you received a complaint and you changed your product or service, that client who made that polite suggestion to you, AKA the complaint, continued to pay you money. It's actually a pretty good math problem if you think about it. They're doing your R&D. You're listening, you change product, they spend more money. Many companies don't look at it that way. If you embrace that type of friction and you actually go search for it, I have methodologies around how to leverage art of collaboration with your top 10 clients. You can far exceed your competition and you will be an industry leader. That's not the sexy one. Remember, there's premium, the very expensive stuff at the gas station. That type of friction is no one's having a behavioral reaction to. But if you show up with a solution, everybody will buy it from you. In my world, that's a premium friction. I've started many businesses just by looking at industries and recognizing friction that exists that nobody's paying attention to, nor is anyone complaining about it. But the remove the film methodology, the letters of film actually spell out film for me is friction identification, leverage the market. So the first thing is I become aware of a friction and I begin to think about the solution. The leveraging the market has 2 components. First one, what is the depth of market to this solution? If I create it, who's going to buy it? How many people are going to buy it? Then next, of course, being totally founded on the art of collaboration, the very next question I ask, who can help me create the solution? Remember, all I have to do is come up with the idea and then I have to collaborate. Or I could do the old way. I could go create companies, but boy, that took a lot of cash, a lot of time, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Or I could leverage the art of collaboration. So the first one is remove the film, to become attentively aware to the frictions that exist in your industry or adjacent industries, or just a business that you go into once a week. Maybe you're picking up your dry cleaning, maybe you're buying fuel, maybe you're going to the grocery store. I would dare say each and every one of us on a daily basis recognize friction. Some of us voice it and they make it as a complaint. Some of us internalize it, ask some questions. If I solve this, how big of a market is there? And if I come up with a solution, who can help me make that solution real and ultimately recur? So that's remove the film. The next one, you mentioned just add a 0. I would assume many entrepreneurs are listening and they all have P&L statements. So if you pulled out last month or last year's P&L statement and we talked about growth, the first thing I'm going to do is add a 0 to every line item. If you do that in a leadership meeting and you just put it up on the board and add a 0 to it, how long do you think it's going to take before your leadership team tells you, well, line number 1 or line number 3 or line number 5 or line number 22, that would never be right. In essence, we're not going to spend that much money on uniforms if our revenue grows by 10. Oh, by the way, we're never going to sell 10 times more this month than we did last month with this sales team. They'll tell you all the reasons why that couldn't be true. And I have the power of one word and a polite suggestion. With a quiet demeanor, take down all those reasons and write them down on a whiteboard if you have, of bullet points why this could never be true. And then you would implement one word, which is unless, and write unless after each one of those bullet points on the whiteboard. And now as the entrepreneur, the one that they look to have the answer to everything, this is the time in which you have to be super quiet. It can take up to a minute and a half. It is very painful for an entrepreneur. And someone around that table will validate why you're investing that type of money into this type of talent. Someone's going to look at that and say, if XYZ happened, line number 3, it'd absolutely be that. Matter of fact, it could probably be more. And then that will start an avalanche of ideas that come from your leadership team around how you don't grow by 20%, or in your industry, you're not considered fast growing at 30 or 35, you're doubling. Let's say that you don't 10 times your revenue in that year. You're going to benefit so much greater by asking bigger questions. This all starts exactly going back to 8 years old, thought I had nothing, began to look at the world a little differently. And I recognized that everything that I could see all started as an idea in somebody's imagination. Why not mine? So for you as an entrepreneur, with your leadership team, with your P&L, this is a strategy that you can apply starting tomorrow morning. Good things will come from it. And I will leave you with one other caveat under the Just Out of Zero framework, which is actually the first book that I published maybe a couple years ago. And it lays out a lot of this, but you can also add the zero to the front. If you're doing 10 million and you want to do 100 million, your team will gladly tell you how fast you're going to get there. Your CFO would tell you, at this run rate, we're going to be there in 10 years. Great. I want to know why we can't be there in 1 year, and then be very quiet and see what your team can do. Yes, granted, there's going to be some things that you don't have the capabilities for. 100% true. Happens every day, happens every minute, pretty much in my world. That's whenever you enter the last one, the 100x collaboration. You might remember earlier in our conversation, we talked about when I have a good product or service, I can go and identify what is it so commonly referenced as my ICP, ideal client profile. And then I can go spend a lot of money on marketing. I can spend some time. I can tweak that marketing. First 2 companies had a bunch of glam metrics, but nobody ever made my phone ring. Or I can leverage the art of collaboration. Someone already has, it's 2025. Someone's likely got their credit card number or an open PO already on file. So they already are known, they're already liked, and they're already trusted. It's just they don't trust my organization yet. If I'm really lockstep with my vision, I can leverage that 100x collaboration framework and go identify those that already have the credit card number on file and just figure out how I'm going to split the outcome for any of the people that know them, like them, trust them, began to buy my product or service. Why would I take that approach? So those are the 3 wrapped up in one. If you want to grow like no one else in your industry, and as well as you begin to think this way, you're not that excellent at cocktail parties because you don't talk like everyone else. But good gracious, can you create a pretty exponential outcome?
Thank you for that. So many thoughts are racing through my mind. I knew that people are going to really benefit from listening to that. You talked about remove the film. I thought about even premium categories of people that have been ignored by the marketplace, people of color, things that we've just accepted. We've adjusted our lives, not have it, but that's a premium, I think.
Yes, we took it as this is the way things are, and that's not true. It all starts as an idea in somebody's imagination. Why not yours today? I have a corny thing that drives me. And a long time ago, and I put it out thinking that first book, there was a squire for Teddy Roosevelt that said, do what you can with what you have where you are. The only thing I added was a D. And this is the part where typically people laugh and they know exactly how corny I am. D is do it now. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Do it now. And so if you take the operational words there, the activation words is can, have, are, and do. And of course it spells Chad. So it became the Chad method a long time ago when I recognized this. And for some weird reason, one of those ideas that popped in my head was, if I put a D on this, I will remember it forever. I also know now why I remember it forever, because it's so damn corny. But the Chad method has driven me a lot because I always felt like I didn't have stuff. And until I started seeing the world this way, it really felt like that. And it wasn't true at all. I have people all around me. They have other capabilities that are wildly different than mine. And if I have an idea that can help them, why would I not share it? And if it produces any outcome, how are we going to split that outcome? The wonderful thing about this type as well, you can do it over and over and over and over. A lot of times in the same day. Think of what you could create over years' time.
So good. I can't even go into all of it because I'd have you here, and I know it's really late over there. I'd have you here all morning for me having a good time, but not for you
Yes,
because I
indeed.
know you need to go to bed early. Thank you so much. I just want to finish off by saying what's exciting personally for you and as you look out into the marketplace right now.
Oh, it's the alternative strategy of implementation of AI that I see. So a lot of folks are quite concerned about how AI is going to impact maybe their role at their organization or their type of company that they have today or their market or their industry. And the answer is yes, it's going to affect it. But thank goodness it is. Earlier, we talked about my perception and the way that I feel like we've moved and evolved into the idea economy and that you already have what you need. We spent a lot of time talking about that today, your imagination and leveraging the art of collaboration. So I'm most excited by, and at any organization that I own today, we have this thing called My AI Time. So when we would find an AI that we want to implement, we do a quick analysis of how much time this is going to save us by day, by week, by hour, sometimes, or by month. And for 3 months, we take that amount of time and put it on a calendar. And whomever is going to be affected by it, we give them exactly what we talked about earlier today, space. We put them together. We have some nice rooms at offices that I have that they can just go inside and be together and have ideas around how things could be better. They know them already. Maybe they didn't have the ability to have a voice in the organization to share it. And so very intentionally, we're trying to get a jump on the impact of AI in a very positive way. If it empowers us to have more time to think, then it will enable us to be more human, to get back to our roots, to leverage what we came factory installed with, which is our imagination, and to greatly impact those around us with those ideas that have been bottled up for a very long time because we had to do a task. So I'm most excited about that. How I'm going to make my small dent in the world is absolutely through SEEDSPARK CoLAB, is to help first entrepreneurs understand and embrace this way and this type of thinking, this mindset, and then create frameworks. We talked about a few that exist in the marketplace today, just at a zero, remove the film, and then leveraging the art of collaboration. But I do absolutely expect that by the time I'm done, these methodologies will be taught in schools if I have to create a collaboration with schools myself. Luckily, I've got a few CoLAB partners that have reached to a couple million schools and children already. So that's what I'm very excited about.
Oh, I'm excited just listening to you talk about it. Thank you so much, Chad. It's been a great
Yes, it's my pleasure.
conversation. Please, to the audience, if you'd like to know more about Chad, and he's written a couple of books, which I think will be really beneficial to entrepreneurs. If you've listened to this conversation, you've seen how you can really elevate what you're doing, elevate your thinking, create space for more ideas. And please go to seedspark.com. It'll be linked in the description. Chad, you're active on LinkedIn.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, quite active on LinkedIn. Thanks to my wonderful team. It is absolutely my thoughts, ideas, and methodologies. And then, of course, you can tell the way that I talk and deliver. My lovely team makes it more LinkedIn friendly. But yeah, it's a wonderful place that we put out quite a bit of content.
Thank you so much. It's been great. You've made me think about things deeply. I'll probably listen to this over and over again to really soak it all in. But thank you. It's been an honor.
Yeah, Miss Priscilla, I really appreciate it. And if I could be help to you or anyone in the future, I'd be happy to be so. It's why I'm here.
Thank you.